The sand stitch. Hi, I'm Kristen and welcome back to my channel, Studio Knit. This sand stitch knitting pattern creates these punctuated rows. There's little bumps for a nice, easy texture. It's a 2-row repeat and is a beginner level project. It's a great choice for knitting up blankets, pillows, scarves. Now you'll see that this is not a reversible pattern because the right side looks different than when we flip it over to the back to the wrong side. However, the wrong side displays the broken rib stitch texture. So this is sort of a 2-in-1. For your materials, feel free to use any yarn gauge and appropriately sized needles. You'll also want some scissors and a tapestry needle on hand. And if you're excited to get your free pattern and learn how to knit up the sand stitch, do me a favor, like up this video, subscribe to my channel, Studio Knit. It really helps me out. Okay, let's knit it up. To begin, we are casting on in multiples of 2 plus 1. Now I get a lot of questions about casting on in multiples. So I want to explain that you first cast on in multiples of 2. So however many stitches you would like to have on your knitting needle, feel free to get really creative, and you'll be casting on in multiples of 2, any even number, and then when you're done at the very end, you'll just be casting on one additional little stitch on the end right there for this knit stitch pattern. On row 1, we are purling every single stitch. So we begin with the yarn in front of our needle, and we insert the needle from the front, wrap our yarn around counterclockwise, and purl that stitch. We will be purling every single stitch on row 1. And if knitting is totally new to you, I have an entire playlist of knitting techniques for absolute beginners. Make sure to check that out so you understand exactly how these techniques are so easy to learn. And you'll be purling every single stitch to the very end of row 1. On row 2, you'll begin with that one little stitch. Remember, we cast on that one additional stitch. So that's K1. That means knit 1. You just knit that one stitch, and then you repeat the pattern between the asterisks. That's those little stars up there. So you begin with purling one stitch, P1, and then you bring your yarn to the back to knit that one stitch. And you repeat this pattern P1, K1 all the way down the row. If you have done the regular easy seed stitch, then you are very familiar with the purling and the knitting all the way down the row. And you will be finishing up, of course, with P1 and K1. So let's take a look at our 2 rows. You can see the little purl stitches and the knit stitches there on row 2. And to continue this pattern, you begin again with row 1. To get your free pattern, it is available over on my website, Studio Knit. There's a printable pattern down at the bottom of the page for you. I also have this stitch in my knit stitch pattern book. It's available both in print and it ships worldwide. You also can immediately get a digital download of all 50 stitches as well. I'll have the link for everything I've talked about today in the description below. And you'll see in my book there's a nice large photo. It shows you, that means it's not reversible. It includes the cast on instructions. It even has a little knitting chart and helps you knit both flat and also in the round if you'd like to do your work on circular needles. I hope you are inspired to give the sand stitch knitting pattern a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you here next time. Bye!